The midnight train platform was quiet, almost empty. The dim lights cast long shadows across the cold concrete, and the distant hum of the city seemed to fade into silence. Ren stood near the edge of the platform, his hands stuffed in the pockets of his jacket, his eyes scanning the tracks. He was tired after a long day of work at the engineering lab, but something made him linger tonight. Maybe it was the quiet, or maybe it was the way the night always seemed to stretch time differently. Ren watched the tracks, noticing the faint glimmer of the approaching train. Its headlights cut through the darkness like twin stars, and the soft rumble grew louder with each second. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his mind wandering to small, pleasant thoughts. He liked nights like this, when the world felt still and calm. It was a rare kind of peace, the kind that allowed his imagination to drift freely. As he leaned against a cold metal pole, he noticed movement at the other end of the platform. A figure appeared from the shadows, carrying a small bag and a sketchbook tucked under her arm. Mara had a gentle presence, and even from a distance, Ren could see the way she paused to look at the tracks as if she were expecting someone or something. Her dark hair fell over her shoulders, slightly damp from the light drizzle that had started earlier. She walked slowly, her eyes occasionally glancing at the ground, then up at the lights, as if trying to make sense of the quiet world around her. When she reached the center of the platform, Mara's foot caught on a small puddle, and she stumbled slightly. Ren, moving quickly, stepped forward just in time to steady her. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice calm but concerned. Mara looked up, slightly embarrassed, and nodded. "Yes, thank you," she said softly. She held up her sketchbook to protect it from the rain. "I didn't expect the platform to be so slippery." Ren smiled, a small, easy smile. "It's a quiet night. Not many people come this late." He glanced at her sketchbook. "Do you draw?" he asked, curious. Mara hesitated for a moment, then lifted the sketchbook just enough to show him a few pages. Each one was filled with delicate sketches of people she had seen on platforms, in cafes, or simply passing by on the streets. The drawings were full of life and emotion, capturing moments most people would overlook. Ren studied them, impressed. "These are amazing," he said. "You've really captured them." Mara blushed slightly, tucking the sketchbook closer to her chest. "Thank you. I like to draw what I see," she said. There was a softness in her voice, a quiet sincerity that drew Ren in. He felt a sudden curiosity, a desire to know more about this stranger who seemed both fragile and strong at the same time. For a few moments, neither spoke. The platform was still, except for the distant sound of the train approaching. It rattled over the tracks, growing louder, announcing its arrival. Ren and Mara stood side by side, a small space between them, as the train slowed. The lights illuminated the platform, and for a brief moment, Ren felt as if time had paused just for them. The train doors opened with a soft hiss. Ren noticed Mara hesitate for a moment before stepping forward. He offered her a small nod. "Take care," he said, and she smiled, a tiny, shy smile that seemed to light up the dim platform. "You too," she replied, and as she stepped onto the train, Ren felt a curious sense of longing. There was something about her, something he couldn't explain, that made the night feel different. As the train pulled away, Ren remained on the platform, watching until the lights of the last carriage disappeared into the darkness. He felt a strange mixture of excitement and wonder. He didn't know Mara's name yet, and they had only exchanged a few words, but somehow, he already felt connected to her. It was a rare feeling, one that made the ordinary platform seem magical, like a secret waiting to be discovered. Rin looked around the quiet platform again. The rain had slowed to a soft drizzle, and the puddles reflected the pale lights above. He took a deep breath, enjoying the crisp night air. Tonight was only the beginning, he realized. Somewhere in the city, Mara was thinking of him too, perhaps remembering the brief encounter, the shared glance, the simple human connection that had sparked between them. And Rin knew, deep inside, that he wanted to see her again, to learn her story, and maybe, just maybe, to share a little piece of his own. The platform remained empty, silent, but Rin's heart felt full. The night had promised something extraordinary, and he was ready to follow it, wherever it might lead. The next week passed slowly for Rin. Each day at work felt long and repetitive, but his mind kept returning to the memory of Mara on the platform. He replayed the way her dark hair fell over her shoulders, the soft way she smiled, and the sketches she had shown him. It was strange how one brief encounter could feel so significant, as if the universe had paused for a moment just for them. Rin found himself glancing at the clock often, wishing for the night to come again. Finally, midnight arrived again, and Rin hurried to the platform. The cool air carried the faint smell of rain and the distant hum of the city. He stood near the edge, hands in his pockets, scanning the empty platform. The soft glow of the lights reflected on the puddles, making them shimmer like tiny mirrors. His heart raced when he thought about seeing Mara again, wondering if she would come. Moments later, the distant sound of footsteps echoed across the platform. Rin turned and saw her. Mara walked slowly, her sketchbook clutched under her arm. She looked up and noticed him immediately. Their eyes met, and both smiled, a mix of surprise and recognition in their expressions. It felt natural, like they had known each other far longer than just one encounter. "Rin," Mara said softly, her voice carrying a hint of relief. "I'm glad you're here." "I was hoping you would be," Rin replied. There was a quiet excitement in his tone, a feeling he hadn't expected. The platform seemed brighter somehow, not because of the lights, but because she was there. They walked side by side along the platform, sharing small talk about the weather, the quiet night, and the rarity of such empty trains. Mara laughed lightly when Rin told a small story about a funny mistake he had made at work. Rin found himself drawn to the sound of her laughter. It was gentle but full of warmth, and it made the night feel lighter. As the train approached, they both stepped closer to the edge, careful to stay dry from the lingering drizzle. The train slowed, its lights cutting through the darkness. The doors opened, and they entered the same car together. Rin noticed that Mara chose a seat by the window, and he sat across from her. He watched her sketchbook for a moment, curious if she would draw on the train. Mara opened the sketchbook and began drawing lightly with a pencil. Rin leaned slightly to look, careful not to intrude. The page showed a small scene of the empty platform they had just left, but in it, she had included two figures, one tall and careful with his steps, the other gentle and smiling. Rin realized with a small smile that they were both in the drawing. "These are wonderful," he said quietly, not wanting to interrupt her focus. Mara looked up at him, a soft blush rising on her cheeks. "Thank you," she said. "I like capturing moments. Even small ones like tonight." They began talking more about their lives. Rin shared stories of his work at the lab, explaining how he loved creating machines that could help people, even in small ways. Mara listened intently, her eyes shining with interest. In turn, she shared her dream of traveling to different cities to capture moments in her sketches, hoping to tell stories through her art. As the train moved through the quiet city, the conversation deepened. Rin discovered that Mara had a thoughtful and curious mind, always asking questions about how things worked and why people acted the way they did. Mara realized that Rin had a quiet determination, a gentle strength in the way he spoke about his work and dreams. It felt natural to talk to each other, as if the world outside had disappeared, leaving only the two of them and their shared thoughts. By the time the train reached the next stop, Rin felt a growing connection. There was something special about Mara, something he couldn't quite explain but wanted to understand better. Before she stepped off, Mara held up her sketchbook and handed him a small drawing, a tiny portrait of him with his hands in his pockets, looking thoughtful. Rin accepted it with surprise and gratitude. "Keep it safe," Mara said with a small smile. "It's just a little something from tonight." "I will," Rin replied. I hope we meet again." Mara nodded, her smile warm. "I hope so too." She stepped off the train, and Rin watched her disappear into the night. The doors closed, and the train moved on, leaving Rin with a strange mix of longing and hope. Standing on the platform, Rin looked at the small drawing in his hands. He realized that something new had begun, not just an attraction, but a curiosity and admiration that went deeper than a passing encounter. The midnight train had brought them together once, and he knew, somehow, that it would bring them together again. The platform was quiet again, but Rin felt a spark in the stillness, a promise that the nights ahead might hold something extraordinary. And for the first time in a long while, he felt truly excited for what the next midnight would bring. After their second encounter, Rin found it impossible to focus on anything but Mara. Each day at work, his mind wandered to the small drawing she had given him, to the quiet way she had listened to his stories, and to the soft light in her eyes when she talked about her art. The memory of her smile on the train lingered like a gentle echo, reminding him that some connections could feel stronger than years of acquaintance. The next night, Rin arrived at the platform earlier than usual. The lights reflected softly on the puddles, and a faint mist hung in the air, making the station look almost magical. Rin leaned against a pole, scanning the tracks as he waited, but he wasn't nervous this time. There was a quiet excitement in his chest, a feeling that tonight might reveal something more. Moments later, Mara appeared, her sketchbook clutched to her chest. Her dark hair glistened slightly from the mist, and she smiled when she saw Rin. "You're early tonight," she said softly. "I didn't want to miss you," Rin replied, smiling back. Mara's eyes twinkled with amusement, and for a moment, the quiet platform seemed warmer, filled with an unspoken understanding between them. They walked side by side along the empty platform, talking about small things at first, the weather, the city lights in the distance, and the odd beauty of a quiet night. Then, slowly, the conversation turned deeper. Rin told Mara about the challenges he faced at work, the pressure to always succeed, the fear of making mistakes, and the moments when he wondered if he was truly capable. Mara listened carefully, her hand brushing slightly against his as they walked, offering silent support. "I understand," Mara said gently. "I feel the same sometimes with my art. People expect you to follow a certain path, and when you don't, it can feel lonely. But I believe we can follow our dreams, even if it's hard." Her words carried a quiet confidence, one that made Rin feel lighter, as if a small weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Rin felt a sense of trust forming, the kind that only appears when two people truly share themselves without fear. He told Mara about his inventions, about the small machines he created to make life easier for people. She asked questions, curious and engaged, and Rin found himself speaking more freely than he had in weeks. In turn, Mara shared her experiences traveling through the city, capturing fleeting moments in her sketches. She described the people she had drawn, the quiet expressions, and the small gestures that often went unnoticed. Rin listened, fascinated by her perspective, realizing how much beauty she saw in the world. Time seemed to slip away as they talked. The lights of the platform reflected in their eyes, and the occasional rumble of a passing train only added to the sense that the world outside had disappeared. Rin realized that these nights on the platform were becoming more than just chance encounters. They were a refuge, a place where both of them could be themselves without judgment or distraction. At one point, Mara opened her sketchbook and showed Rin a new drawing she had made that evening, a small scene of the platform itself, with two figures sitting side by side, talking quietly. Rin's heart skipped a beat when he realized that the figures resembled them. "You draw us?" he asked, surprised. "I try to capture moments that feel important," Mara replied softly. "And this moment feels important to me." She looked at him directly, and for the first time, Rin felt that quiet thrill of recognition, not just of her presence, but of the connection they shared. The train arrived unexpectedly, sliding into the station with its familiar hiss. They boarded together, but neither wanted to sit alone. Rin chose a seat across from Mara, and they continued to talk as the train moved through the city. Their conversation wandered from dreams to fears, from memories to hopes. By the time the train reached its next stop, Rin felt a deep sense of admiration and care for Mara, and he noticed the same spark reflected in her eyes. As Mara stepped off the train, she turned back and smiled, handing Rin another small sketch, a tiny, delicate image of the train car they had just left, with two figures inside, talking quietly. "Keep it," she said. "So you remember tonight." Rin accepted it carefully, tucking it into his pocket. "I will. I hope we meet again," he said sincerely. Mara nodded. "We will," she replied. And with that, she disappeared into the quiet city streets, leaving Rin standing on the platform, a strange mixture of longing and hope in his chest. He looked down at the sketch in his hand and realized that these meetings were becoming a part of him. They were no longer just encounters, they were moments of understanding, of connection, and of something he couldn't quite name. Rin knew, deep in his heart, that their story was only beginning, and that the platform, with its quiet lights and empty tracks, would be the place where it unfolded. The midnight platform was still, the city silent around him, but Rin's heart was alive. For the first time in a long while, he felt the thrill of possibility, of dreams shared, of feelings discovered, and of a connection that promised something extraordinary. The nights on the midnight platform had become a routine for Rin and Mara, yet each meeting brought something new. They had shared stories, dreams, and fears, and their connection had grown quietly but steadily. But tonight felt different. Rin arrived slightly earlier than usual, a nervous flutter in his chest that he could not ignore. Something told him that tonight would test the strength of their bond. Mara appeared as usual, carrying her sketchbook and a small bag. She smiled when she saw Rin, but there was a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. Rin noticed it and felt a small pang of worry. "Hey," he said softly. "Is everything okay?" Mara nodded, though not entirely convincingly. "Yes. I'm fine," she replied, though her voice carried a hint of distraction. They began walking along the platform, side by side, but the usual easy rhythm of their conversations was interrupted by moments of silence. Rin glanced at Mara, wondering what was on her mind. He had a small fear he tried to hide. What if Mara's thoughts were drifting elsewhere, to someone or something beyond the platform, beyond him? As they talked, Ren noticed Mara exchange a few words with a passenger standing nearby. The conversation seemed polite, casual, yet Ren felt an unexpected twinge of jealousy. He knew it was irrational, he had no reason to feel threatened, but the feeling surprised him. Mara noticed his sudden quietness and frowned slightly. "Ren, are you all right?" she asked, her voice gentle. I'm fine," Ren said quickly, shaking his head. "Just thinking." He tried to smile, but he felt the unease lingering. Mara didn't push further, though she seemed thoughtful. Ren realized that desire alone was not enough. Understanding, trust, and patience were part of what they were building, and tonight would be a quiet lesson in that. The train approached, and they boarded together as usual, but neither spoke much. Ren chose a seat across from Mara, though he found it difficult to focus on anything but the small pangs of worry in his chest. Mara opened her sketchbook, drawing quietly, but Ren could tell that even her focus was slightly distracted. She caught his gaze for a moment, a small, reassuring smile crossing her lips. It was enough to calm him slightly, reminding him that the bond between them was stronger than fleeting feelings of jealousy or doubt. As the train moved through the silent city, their conversation began again, slowly and carefully. Mara spoke first, admitting that sometimes she worried about whether people really understood her. She feared that her dreams might be too ambitious or that her passion for art would be misunderstood. Ren listened, realizing that their connection had deeper layers than he had imagined. They were learning not only about each other's joys but also about each other's fears. "I understand," Ren said softly. "I sometimes feel the same. I worry if my work is meaningful enough, or if I'm doing the right thing. But being here with you, it makes me feel like maybe we can follow our dreams together." Mara looked at him, her eyes wide, reflecting both relief and warmth. "I feel that too," she admitted. "Being with someone who understands, it makes everything feel possible." Her words carried honesty, and Ren felt a rush of comfort and hope. The train continued its quiet journey, passing through dark streets and empty stations. Ren and Mara leaned slightly closer, sharing thoughts and ideas, their previous worries slowly melting away. The moment was not dramatic, but it was real, filled with small gestures, shared smiles, and understanding glances. Ren realized that relationships were not just about excitement or desire, they were about presence, patience, and the courage to face one another honestly. When the train reached Mara's stop, she stood and packed her sketchbook carefully. Ren felt a small pang of sadness but also a sense of anticipation for the nights yet to come. "See you tomorrow?" he asked quietly, hoping the routine would continue. Mara nodded, smiling warmly. "Yes, tomorrow." She stepped off the train, and Ren watched as she disappeared into the quiet city streets, her figure blending into the shadows. Yet this time, Ren did not feel jealousy or doubt. Instead, he felt a quiet strength, a knowledge that they were learning how to trust each other, how to face moments of unease, and how to build something lasting. Standing alone on the platform, Ren looked out at the empty tracks, feeling the chill of the night and the warmth of a heart growing stronger. The midnight platform had become more than a place to wait for a train, it had become a place to understand, to grow, and to connect. And Ren knew that their story was unfolding slowly, one night at a time, teaching them that love and admiration were built not only in moments of joy but also in moments of patience, understanding, and trust. The city around him remained quiet, but Ren's heart was alive. He took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill his lungs, and felt a sense of quiet excitement for the nights ahead. Every encounter, every conversation, and every glance was shaping something extraordinary, and Ren was ready to embrace it fully. The night air on the platform was colder than usual, and a soft drizzle had begun to fall, making the concrete glisten under the dim lights. Rin wrapped his jacket tighter around him, scanning the empty platform as he waited. He had arrived early, as he often did, but tonight, he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. There was something about the way the weather had changed, the mist and rain, that made the night feel alive, almost as if it were holding its breath. A few minutes later, Mara appeared, her sketchbook tucked carefully under her arm. She paused when she saw Rin, and a small, relieved smile spread across her face. "Rin," she said softly. "It looks like the rain will catch us tonight." Rin smiled back. "I don't mind. Sometimes, a little rain makes everything feel more real," he said, gesturing to the glistening puddles. Mara nodded, and together they walked along the platform, their steps echoing softly in the quiet night. Tonight, something felt different. There was a tension, a quiet anticipation in the air. Rin noticed Mara glance toward the distant tracks more than once, and he wondered what thoughts were passing through her mind. He had a feeling that this night would reveal more than casual conversation or small sketches. It would be a night that tested courage and honesty. As they reached the shelter at the edge of the platform, the drizzle grew heavier. They stood close together under the small roof, the sound of rain tapping above them filling the silence. Rin looked at Mara and noticed a small shiver in her frame. Without thinking, he offered her his jacket. "Here," he said gently. "You'll get cold." Mara hesitated for a moment, then accepted it, slipping it over her shoulders. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice carrying both gratitude and warmth. Rin felt his chest tighten with a quiet sense of care. The rain fell steadily, and the platform felt almost empty except for them. Rin took a deep breath, realizing that he wanted to speak from his heart, to share the thoughts and feelings he had been keeping inside. "Mara," he began, "these nights we spend here, they mean a lot to me. I feel connected to you in a way I haven't felt before." Mara looked at him, her eyes reflecting the dim light and the shimmer of rain. "I feel the same," she admitted softly. "Being here, talking to you, sharing these moments, it's like the world outside disappears, and it's just us." Rin felt a sudden surge of courage. He reached out gently and took Mara's hand in his, careful not to startle her. She looked at him for a moment, then smiled, squeezing his hand in return. The simple touch felt electric, as if it carried all the emotions they had been building over the past nights. The sound of the train approaching in the distance broke the quiet, but Rin and Mara didn't move. The train's lights shimmered on the wet tracks, casting long reflections across the platform. Rin realized that this moment the rain, the shelter, the soft sound of the city sleeping was perfect. It was the kind of moment that mattered more than any words could capture. "I've always admired people who follow their dreams," Rin said quietly, his eyes locked on hers. "And I admire you, Mara. Your art, your vision, it's inspiring. Being with you makes me want to be better, to try harder, and to follow my own dreams too." Mara's eyes softened, and she brushed a damp strand of hair from her face. "Rin, I feel the same about you. You're kind, thoughtful, and passionate about what you do. You inspire me too. Being here, with you, I feel like I can be brave about my own dreams." The train arrived, sliding into the station with its familiar hiss, but neither moved to board immediately. They stood under the shelter, holding hands, letting the quiet rain wash over them. The world outside felt distant, almost unimportant, compared to the connection they were sharing in that simple, stormy night. Finally, Rin spoke again. No matter what happens, I want us to support each other through challenges, through dreams, and through everything in between. Mara nodded, her smile calm but full of promise. Yes. We'll face it together, she said. The words were soft, but they carried weight, a quiet determination that mirrored Rin's own feelings. When the train doors opened, they stepped inside together, choosing seats near the window. The storm outside created a blur of lights, reflections dancing on the glass, but Rin and Mara didn't mind. They talked quietly, sharing thoughts, dreams, and small laughter, their hands still lightly touching. By the time Mara reached her stop, the rain had slowed, and the platform glistened under the dim lights. She stepped off the train, looking back at Rin with a warm, hopeful smile. "See you tomorrow?" she asked. "Definitely," Rin replied, holding her gaze until she disappeared into the quiet streets. He watched her go, feeling a deep sense of joy and anticipation. Tonight had been more than a meeting, it had been a test of courage, honesty, and the quiet strength of connection. Standing alone on the platform, Rin looked at the wet tracks and the empty benches. The city around him was silent, but his heart was full. For the first time, he felt that love and admiration were not just fleeting feelings, they were built in moments of courage, shared dreams, and mutual support. And Rin knew, deep inside, that the story between him and Mara was only beginning. The midnight train platform, with its quiet lights and glistening rain, had become a place where something extraordinary was growing. The platform had become a second home for Rin and Mara. Every night, they met under the quiet glow of the dim lights, sharing stories, laughter, and dreams. But tonight was different. Tonight, they were not just meeting to talk, they were meeting to create together. Rin had spent the day in his workshop, carefully building a small device designed to help Mara with her sketches. It was simple but thoughtful, a portable light that adjusted automatically to the surrounding brightness, making it easier for her to draw anywhere, anytime. He carried it in a small box, excitement and nervousness tugging at him in equal measure. Mara arrived first, holding her sketchbook as usual. When she saw Rin, her eyes lit up with curiosity. "What's in the box?" she asked, a playful tone in her voice. Rin smiled, holding the box out carefully. "I made something for you," he said. "Something to help with your art. I thought it might be useful for your sketches at night." Mara opened the box slowly, revealing the small device. Her eyes widened with surprise, then softened with appreciation. "Rin, this is amazing," she said. "You really thought of me." "I did," Rin replied quietly. "I wanted to help you with your dreams, even in a small way. Your art, it inspires me, Mara. I wanted to give something back." Mara's hands hovered over the device, and she looked at Rin with genuine gratitude. "It's perfect," she whispered. "You really understand me." The warmth in her voice made Rin feel a quiet pride, a deep satisfaction that went beyond words. They spent the next hour experimenting with the device, finding the best angles and settings for drawing. Mara sketched quietly, and Rin watched her hands move with grace and focus. There was a rhythm to their work, a silent understanding that didn't require words. He realized that these shared moments of creativity were shaping their bond just as much as their conversations and laughter had. "You know," Mara said finally, looking up from her sketchbook, "it's not just the device. It's that you care enough to think about what I need. That matters more than anything." Rin felt his chest tighten with a quiet warmth. "I care about you, Mara. Not just your art, but you. You're important to me," he said softly. Mara smiled, a small blush on her cheeks. And you're important to me too, Rin. More than I thought someone could be. The night passed with small talks, quiet laughter, and shared sketches. Mara showed Rin some of her newest drawings, inspired by the city lights and the people she had seen during the day. Rin admired her talent, realizing how much passion and attention to detail went into each line. In turn, Rin explained how he designed the device, showing her the small mechanisms that allowed it to work automatically. Mara listened carefully, fascinated by the ingenuity, and Rin felt proud that he could share a piece of his world with her. The platform had grown colder as the night wore on, but neither of them noticed. The lights reflected softly on the puddles, and the gentle hum of the city in the distance seemed to fade away, leaving only them and their shared creations. It was a quiet kind of happiness, filled with meaning, purpose, and connection. When it was time for Mara to leave, she carefully packed her sketchbook and the small device, holding it close. "Thank you, Rin," she said, her voice soft and sincere. "Tonight was perfect. I feel inspired, and not just because of the device. Because of you." Rin smiled, a warm glow spreading through him. "I'm glad," he said. "I feel inspired too, Mara. You make me want to try harder, to be better." She stepped onto the train, glancing back at him once more. "Tomorrow," she said with a smile, "we'll create even more." "Definitely," Rin replied. And as the train doors closed and Mara disappeared into the night, Rin stood on the platform, feeling a quiet joy in his chest. Their bond had grown beyond words, beyond fleeting attraction. It was a partnership of minds, hearts, and dreams. The platform remained empty and still, but Rin's thoughts were full of plans for the next night, sketches, ideas, and shared moments that would bring them closer. He realized that the magic of the midnight platform was not just in the lights or the quiet air, but in the connection they had built together, a connection that inspired them to dream bigger, care more deeply, and support each other in every way. As Rin walked home, he felt a quiet certainty in his heart. Mara and he were not just two people passing time together, they were partners in life's quiet adventures, ready to face the world together, one midnight at a time. The midnight platform had never felt so alive. The dim lights reflected softly on the wet concrete, and the faint hum of the city seemed to fade into the background, leaving only the quiet rhythm of the night. Rin arrived first, holding a small bundle wrapped carefully in paper. Tonight was special. He had planned a surprise for Mara, something to show how much their bond had grown and how deeply he cared for her. Moments later, Mara appeared, her sketchbook tucked under her arm, her eyes lighting up when she saw Rin. "You're here early," she said, a playful tone in her voice. "I wanted to be ready," Rin replied, holding out the bundle. "Tonight. I have something for you." Mara raised her eyebrows, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. Rin carefully unwrapped the bundle to reveal a small display of her sketches, arranged neatly on a portable board. Alongside them, he had placed the small device he had built to help her draw. Soft battery-powered lights illuminated the display, casting a warm glow over her art. Mara's eyes widened in surprise, and a small gasp escaped her lips. "Rin, this is incredible," she said softly, stepping closer. You really thought of everything." "I wanted to show you how much I admire your work," Rin said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "And, to show you that I believe in you, in your dreams, and in us." Mara's hands trembled slightly as she touched one of the sketches. You've made this special, Rin. Not just the display, but everything. It feels like you understand me completely. She looked up at him, her eyes glistening with a mixture of gratitude and something deeper, something that went beyond words. Rin stepped closer, taking her hand gently. I do understand you, Mara. And I want to be here for you, not just tonight, but always. To support you, to inspire you, and to share these moments together. A quiet smile spread across Mara's face. I feel the same about you, Rin, she said softly. You inspire me too. Being with you, it makes me feel like I can do anything, like I can be brave. The train arrived in the distance, its soft lights approaching like a promise. But Rin and Mara didn't move. They stood on the platform, holding hands, surrounded by the glow of her art and the quiet hum of the city. In that moment, the world outside didn't matter. It was just the two of them, connected not only by attraction but by trust, respect, and shared dreams. I never imagined a simple platform could feel so magical, Mara whispered. But with you, it does. It feels like a place where anything is possible. Rin nodded, squeezing her hand gently. It's more than just a platform. It's where we build something together, a bond that grows stronger every night. And tonight, I wanted to show you that this, what we have, it matters. Mara leaned slightly closer, resting her head near his shoulder. It does matter, Rin. More than I can say. The train slowed to a stop, its doors opening with a soft hiss. Rin and Mara finally stepped inside, choosing seats near the window. The night outside was blurred by the soft rain, reflections dancing on the glass, but inside, they were in a world of their own creation. They talked quietly, sharing thoughts, dreams, and laughter. Every glance, every smile, every shared word deepened their connection, making it clear that their bond was more than a fleeting attraction. It was a partnership, a friendship, and a love that had grown slowly and steadily. When Mara reached her stop, she gathered her sketches and the small device, holding them close. She turned back to Rin, her eyes shining in the soft light. Thank you, she whispered. For believing in me, for caring, and for making these nights unforgettable. Rin smiled warmly. And thank you, Mara. For inspiring me, for trusting me, and for sharing your world. I promise we'll keep creating, supporting each other, and facing whatever comes together. Mara stepped off the train, pausing briefly to wave before disappearing into the quiet streets. Rin watched her go, feeling a quiet sense of joy and hope. The midnight platform was no longer just a place to wait for a train, it was a symbol of their connection, a reminder that extraordinary moments could happen in ordinary places. As Rin walked home under the soft glow of the city lights, he held the memory of Mara close to his heart. The small sketches, the gentle smiles, the shared words, all of it was a story they had written together, one night at a time. And Rin knew, without a doubt, that this story was only just beginning. The platform remained silent and empty once more, but its quiet light seemed to shine brighter than ever, as if reflecting the promise of a future filled with hope, dreams, and the extraordinary power of human connection. And in that quiet night, under the soft glow of the platform lights, Rin felt a deep certainty, that love, trust, and shared dreams could turn the simplest moments into memories that lasted a lifetime.